Hi everyone, it's Will. Now, I used to think that your core values were just something that you knew, but over time I've realized that I didn't discover mine by thinking about them. I discovered them through experiences, mistakes, and moments that either felt right or felt completely off. And today we're going to dive deeper into core values and mission statements from the Kindling program and how you can get clearer on them so that your life feels more aligned with what truly matters to you. Now, quick note, if you are looking for a supportive community around career, relationships, and personal growth, you can check out the Grow and Thrive with Mentor Pete school community in the description below. And as someone who is 24 years old and has gone through the program myself and has seen the impact in my life, it ultimately led me to working with the organization today. Now, back to core values. As I've reflected on my own experiences, I've noticed that mine have become much more clear and defined over time. They didn't just appear, they were shaped through what I saw, what I experienced, and what I also wanted to avoid doing as well. Now, two of my biggest core values today are autonomy and fulfillment, but I didn't just decide that one day. It came from being around people, who had control over their time and over their work, and also that allowed me to see what was possible. But it also came from seeing people who spent decades of their career doing work that burned them out and made them unfulfilled, and realizing that I wanted to experience something different than that. So as you think of your own core values, remind yourself that clarity doesn't always come from sitting still. It comes from putting yourself in new environments, which is something that I need to remind myself of as well. And even when you learn what you don't like, you're getting closer to what you do like. And one thing also to keep in mind is that your core values can change over time too. If they're shaped by experiences and your experiences continue to evolve, you will too. And you might be someone who takes pride in always being available for your friends. Anytime they call, you pick up. But over time, you start to notice that maybe always being available leaves you burned out. You're not giving yourself any time to recharge, and eventually you can't even show up for your friends the way that you want to. So your values begin to shift. Instead of always being available, you start to value setting healthy boundaries and making time for yourself, which actually allows you to be more present for others. And this is just one example of where you might see this come up in your own life. And that only came through experience, because if you hadn't gone through that experience of trying to be everyone to every person and then realizing that you were burned out, then you wouldn't have discovered the need for those healthy boundaries moving forward. So when we look at the discussion in this chapter, another thing that comes up that was really interesting to hear from the cast members was this idea of balancing excitement with security, along with recognizing the differences between needs and values. And as was discussed in the chapter, you have to meet your core needs first, like making enough income to pay your bills. But just because your needs are being met doesn't mean that your values have to take a back seat. It might not happen all at once where they fully align, but it is possible to work toward both. So let's take a look at one part of it in this chapter.
You don't want to be part of that 87% that is disengaged or highly disengaged, because it's going to impact all other aspects of your life. There are some old schoolers that feel like suck it up and work at a hard job like the rest of us did. The research has shown you want to be in a fulfilling job. That may not happen right away. That may happen down the road, but you may be always working towards that on the side, right? And then all of a sudden, things come together. You create opportunities. And again, just like meaning, you get to decide what fulfillment is.
Daryl? I think, especially as of late, so I thought I was gonna have a long, basketball career. And then when my injury happened, it was like, they were like, you're not gonna play again. And I think over these last 2 years, I've been trying to remove that but from security, you got security, but you don't have excitement, or you have excitement, but you don't have security, and replacing that with an and really just trying to figure out how do you do both? You know what I mean? How do you have a job that you're secure in and pays your bills and gets you to that 75, between 85 number, but also has something that's constantly stimulating you and constantly exciting you and constantly challenging you. And I really think there's a way, I think with social media and the internet more than anything, it's shown you can have both. It doesn't necessarily have to be but anymore. It's just, are you willing to make the sacrifice to get to that point
Yeah.
where you have both?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Now, to build off that, when you're still in school, I think it's easy to think of your core values for work as separate from your core values for life. At least that was my own experience. But what this chapter highlights is that real fulfillment comes when those two are aligned. So being able to identify what is it that you value in your life and hold that same standard in your career can help you move closer towards that fulfillment. And again, this is something that is still such a work in progress for me. But diving deeper into this topic, one idea that comes to mind further that wasn't really mentioned in the chapter itself, but what I was reflecting on is work-life balance. Because whenever I hear work-life balance, it can feel like work is the chore and life is the fun. But what this chapter offers is a different perspective, a roadmap for creating a life where there is less separation between the two and more alignment between your values and your mission. Now, if you're a young adult looking to land that job, build strong relationships, improve your well-being, and be part of a supportive community navigating the uncertainties of your 20s, check out the Grow and Thrive with Mentor Pete school community built around the Kindling program. It's a space to learn, to grow, and to connect with others on a similar journey. More information is in the description below. Talk to you all soon, everyone.